morning, everybody. I hope you're all having a great week. Can you give me a little thumbs up just to make sure you're all hearing me? Because, I have to admit, had some problems with that recently. Oh, great, 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 great. Love to see the activity. Always makes me feel like there's really people out there. Anyways, thank you very much. Let me move my camera a little. Okay. Maybe that's a little better. Now it's blurry. There we are. Okay. I'm actually going to turn my camera off. Today we've got a great course, influencing clients and how to be able to be persuasive with people. I have always said in real estate that one of the most important things is your ability to be able to influence clients and get them engaged with you, whether it's online, in person, by the phone. It doesn't matter. There's all these different communication styles today. Um, Before we dive in, just wanted to let you know that you can ask questions. I will not answer the questions until after our session at the end. And I'm going to turn my cell phone on silent because it does ring from time to time. So I've just done that. Okay, don't hesitate to ask questions. I love the questions. We'll be happy to answer them. They'll be answered at the end. I'm going to turn my camera off now because it makes the image larger, and I want you to be able to see all the content on the screen easily. So I'll bring it back on right at the end if I remember. So we'll turn that off. Okay. And as I say, don't hesitate to ask questions. Okay, let's begin. What is influence? Influence is any attempt by a person to change the behavior of an individual. Now, think about that for a minute. You've experienced this in your life already. I'm sure of it. You've either influenced others or somebody else has influenced you. Other people have influenced you. Think of things like, going on a diet. Ladies, how many times has a friend of yours gone on a diet and lost weight and has talked about this new diet they tried, and they were so incredibly motivating to you, and you changed your behavior. You all of a sudden went on this diet and exercise and all different other kinds of things, maybe a job change. There's all kinds of different opportunities that you've had in your life where you've witnessed someone influencing your decision or you influencing somebody else's decision. Real estate, this becomes extremely important, is knowing how to do that, and knowing how to do that without other people feel like you're selling them, because it's not about selling them. You'll find at the end of today, I'm hoping that influence is such a great thing. It's about motivating people, is what it really is. So, Dale Carnegie or Andrew Carnegie, they were both in the business of motivation. It's about motivating others. And here's what Andrew Carnegie said. Dale was the son, I believe, of Andrew Carnegie. Anyways, people who are unable to motivate themselves must be content with mediocrity, no matter how impressive their other talents might be. So it's about motivating others, but you got to be motivated yourself in order for you to be able to motivate others. And there's no question about that. That you need to be motivated in order to motivate. By motivating others, great salespeople create a climate in which people become engaged and empowered. That's what it's really about. It's about making people feel good about what they're doing. That's what motivation is. They understand. It's about understanding the needs, their styles. We're all different. We all have different personalities. It takes different ways to motivate people. You can't use the same style on everybody. So we'll look at that today, look at the different personality styles that you've probably met in your lifetime, be able to identify who you are as well. People will want to work with professional real estate leaders and will be more receptive to their influencing. So, believe me, knowing how to motivate other people and also understand the motivation is within you. So first of all, it's also about understanding how to improve your communication. In my many, many years, most of you know I've been almost 50 years in this business. And, I've been working with training agents for 45 years now. I can't believe it's that long. But, anyways, I can tell you that probably one of the biggest problem areas that I've had in working with people is their communication has been what has been the biggest problem. And there's many reasons for it. We'll look at many of them today. So we want to make sure you are able to improve your communication with clients. And you've heard me say, if you've attended my session, it's not what you say, but how you say what you say and the tone of your voice that you use when you say it. Very, very important. It's not what you say, but how you say what you say. Very important. And your tone. So it's about when you meet somebody, it's about making a connection. What do I mean by that? It's not just hello, this kind of thing and do a little small talk kind of thing. What you're really trying to do is identify, through a little bit of time. You're not going to be able to do this immediately. With some people, it will be immediate because they're just very open book in terms of the way they communicate with you and will share information. Most people will hide information from you. And it's almost like, learning how to be able to question people and do it in a way that doesn't make them feel like you're interrogating them or the 20 question situation. So it's about learning to question people effectively and making that connection so you get to understand a little more of who they are so you can relate to that and then design your communication strategy and style, if you will, around that personality type. And again, we'll look at that today. So learn the basics of nonverbal communication. We'll look at that. The order in which you deliver information, it's so important. I don't know if you've ever had a conversation with anybody on any subject that you knew very little about. I had one yesterday, as a matter of fact, with a person that was explaining their services to me. And it was like, whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I kept saying to him, stop, 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 stop. And he said, okay. And I said, I'm lost. I'm in cyberspace here. And it was because this person was not able to explain things from A to Z. There's a sequential order of teaching people things, and sometimes I get, a kick out of myself when I say this, but I hope you understand what I mean. When I hired one time a digital media person who was my social media guru in the company many years ago, she was amazing, really, really amazing, and knew her social media like nobody I've ever met. She moved back to out of the country, and I lost her, unfortunately, but we're still friends today. But here was what I had to teach her. She was so knowledgeable about this subject. When she was explaining something, she would drop you in the middle of the ocean. What I mean by that, she assumed that people already knew some of the basic things when it came to social media. And I said, no, 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 no. I said, here's what you got to do. Let me tell you, in order so everybody can follow you along, you've got to start with, it's like cooking. Okay, first thing you got to do is have the right pots. So where are your pots? They're in your cupboard. Look for this kind of a pot, if you know what I'm saying. It's like starting right at the beginning. And that's why the order of information is extremely important. You're going to talk about this first and this second and this third, in the sequential order. Makes such a difference. It makes things clear. It makes things simple. It makes people able to grasp. And when people understand you, are able to grasp what you're saying, your message, what you're trying to accomplish with them, it makes them feel very comfortable around you because they're understanding you. It's also about timing of the information and being sure that you say what you're going to say at the right time. For example, have you ever witnessed an angry, frustrated, upset client, whether they're a buyer or a seller, especially sellers, get an offer and they're not happy with the price. I've seen all kinds of reactions with sellers. That's a perfect example of when somebody is upset, frustrated, disappointed, whatever emotion they're feeling. The last thing you want to be doing now is trying to motivate them or trying to close them, because now's not the right time to do that. What you're trying to do or should be doing in this case, is trying to get, everybody calm down. And, sometimes what you have to do is change the subject altogether. That's got nothing to do with real estate, just to take their mind off things and get everything back into perspective and emotions under control. So timing of information, when you say what you're going to say, is it the appropriate time to say what you're going to say, is also a factor that you have to take into consideration. Sometimes you can over communicate. In other words, talking too much. I was coaching a couple one time. I started coaching the woman, hugely successful. And she then, had been about 5 years in the business. And then her husband had lost his job. And so she said, why don't you get your real estate license and we can work together. So here he is now, a year later, after he had got his license. They're working together as a husband-wife team. And she was having problems with him. And she was saying to me when in our meeting alone that, when she took him out, it was more difficult for her to get listings and so on. And she couldn't quite understand what the problem was. And I said, hey, this was, coaching where we were doing it physically. And, she would come to my office. And I said, why don't the next time we meet, bring your husband? And she said, okay. Well, she did. It took me 2 minutes and I knew what the problem was immediately. He was a control freak when it came to conversation. I mean, he just wouldn't stop talking. It was like you had a hard time getting a word in edgewise. And I mentioned it to him. I said, let me tell you, you may not like what I'm going to say, but listen, you're here free right now. I'm coaching your wife and I'm doing this as a service to her. And she's paying for my advice. Let me tell you what the problem is. You are hogging the conversation. You interrupt me. You're constantly you're constantly, won't stop when you're explaining something. You explain it to death. So that was the problem. And once we got that under control, everything changed for him. So you see, sometimes, like I say, sometimes it's not comfortable hearing the truth. But if if you can fix it and the problem corrects itself and all of a sudden you become successful, everybody's happy with that. And that's what I mean by sometimes you can over communicate, speak about something to death. And there we are. So engaging with clients, making sure you know how to get clients engaged with you, whether it's online, in person, through the telephone, getting them communicating with you. And it's not easy for a lot of people to do this. So this is where the realtor has to be able to know how to get people engaged. We'll talk about that today. Don't ever be afraid to ask for honest feedback. Ask them, if they tell you that, if it looks like they're changing their mind or you're having difficulty with getting them to make a decision, don't be afraid to say, I'm not sure, but I get the feeling that there's something troubling you or something that, that's causing you some concern. Share it with me if you would. Is there anything that I can do to help you? I'm sort of asking for your feedback. What is it that's holding you back? What is it that you might be concerned about? Don't be afraid to ask for that, because truthfully, people want to tell you, but sometimes they need encouragement to do that. Always start with the last time you met, the key points. Last time we were together, here's what we did. We talked about A, B, C, D. Today, here's what we're going to do. So always start with the key points of what, where you left off and kind of thing, and where you're going to begin today kind of thing. Visual aids are very, very important. That's why I believe so much in having a powerful listing presentation and a powerful buyer presentation. Very, very important. Makes a big difference to helping you with, making your point and getting your point across. Visual aids are so important. Being clear and concise. And as I say, with as few words as possible. And emphasizing the understanding. You want to make sure they understand you, and don't be afraid to ask. Am I speaking too quickly? You're in control of this conversation. If you want me to speak a little quicker, if you want me to slow down, let me know. I always wanted to make sure people understood they had some control in this situation, that it wasn't me. who is going to control them. 7 steps to developing your influencing skills. If you look at the diagram there, it's about motivation. It's about your own sense of self-esteem. It's about decision making, it's empathy, it's commitment, it's interpersonal awareness. All of those things help you in understanding when you take a deep dive into your ability to influence people. You have to think about those things. Creating rapport, we'll talk about that. I had a real estate agent one time. I'm going to tell you about him. His name is Howard. It doesn't matter his last name. This is many years ago now, but I've met his type since, but this was a guy who very well educated. He was a chartered accountant, actually, a CA, not someone who was someone who did some accounting skill. He was actually a CA, and extremely intelligent. But it was in the day. It was before technology, where those of you who have any accounting background probably know what I mean. It was during the OneWrite system, where everything was ledgers and books. And his whole career was always about, in business, it was about him and usually one customer, his client. So he worked very, very alone all the time, mostly. And he didn't have a lot of, communication skills, and he did not have a whole lot of, skills in being able to work with people because he was always alone. And anyways, he decided to, I've always trained people, you got to become a lister, you got to learn how to list. And we were working with him on choosing a farm area. He came and he decided this farm area in the beach, not the beaches area, but the East York area, Coxwell, and, in that area. Anyways, Upper Beaches, as some people call it. Anyways, long story short, where these little bungalows were, little 2-bedroom bungalows. And he was going out, had no problem getting appointments. This was in the day where it was all about cold calling. He'd get on the phone, didn't have a problem with getting an appointment. And, he'd get out there and go out on appointments. But he never got any listings. And I kept saying to him, Howard, let me go with you. And, finally, he's agreed. And within, again, 5 minutes, I knew what the problem was. We left, and he had no ability to be able to break the ice with people and to create rapport. That was his problem. He didn't know how to create rapport. And I said to him, Howard, let me tell you what your issue is. You need to change areas. You're in the wrong area. You've got nothing in common with the little 2-bedroom bungalow and frilly kitchen curtains. You have nothing in common with that. And you're having a hard time relating to the customer because it really isn't you and your style. I said, what you need to do is change your marketing strategy. I want you to go after 4-plexes, the multi-residential, 4-plex, 6-plex, 10-plex, the small little investment property, and maybe even eventually the large investment property, because your accounting background, the fact that you're a CA is going to help you so much into be able to build rapport because you have the knowledge of taxes and so on and so forth. Well, let me tell you, he listened to me, thank God, because within a year or so, he became eventually one of the top apartment building salespeople in all of the GTA. He was hugely successful. Now, had I left him alone to do what he was doing and work in Little East York, he would have got frustrated. He would have thought, you know what, this is not the business for me. I'm going to leave the business. But instead, luckily, he allowed me to go with him. Most people are happy when I go with him. He did not want me to go. But anyways, there's a perfect example of what I mean by creating rapport, making sure that you are working with the right type of clients, because all of us need to be able to change our personalities. But sometimes, it's the area that you've chosen that maybe isn't working for you. Being able to really listen and knowing how to ask questions. Closing is learning to question. Being good at influencing people and communicating with people is knowing how to question. I have courses on questioning. You should look for them and take them. Be aware of your body language. Again, body language, so important. If you're watching politics, these days, who isn't watching politics these days? You know exactly what I mean when you look at, especially in the US, I'm not going to start talking about these two different politicians, but one is very soft, very comfortable in their skin, and their body language exudes comfort. They take their jacket off, they're comfortable around people. And the other one, arms folded, and this tense sort of aggression, if you will. Very important to understand your body language says so much about your ability to make people feel comfortable around you. So be aware of that. You have no control over somebody else's body language except for how you communicate with them. And when you first meet somebody and you're in their home listing appointment example, they might be sitting at the edge of their chair because they're used to having friends and family over. They're not used to having salespeople there. So body language and understanding how you try to connect with these people, build rapport, selling the benefits, selling the sizzle. It's not the steak, it's the sizzle. It's the smell when you're cooking it. It's the watching you cut it. And it's like, oh my God, this looks so tender. It's the juiciness of it. It's the taste of the different seasonings that you put on it. So sell the sizzle, not the steak. Okay, sell the benefits. Be relaxed. Invest in your time. In other words, invest in taking the time to learn these things, and in becoming better. Again, the key to influencing is your adaptability. What is adaptability for a salesperson? The key trait of top performing sales reps is their ability to change who they are very, very quickly. They recognize the personality type and they're able to shift their style to suit the person that you're meeting. So it's incredible, this little diagram. When you're communicating, 7% is the words that you're saying. Voice means the tone. Look at how important tone is. Tone of voice is 38%. And look at body language. 55% of, getting people to feel comfortable around you, breaking the ice with people, influencing them is your body language, the voice that you use, the tonality of your voice. Extremely important. It is also important to understand that no client will change their personality to suit you. They'll just find another real estate agent. So it's us, the professionals, that have to change ourselves to suit them. Honing your influencing skills. It's questions over orders. In other words, again, I keep saying it's all about your ability to question. People are more inclined to agree with you and follow your lead if you are questioning over orders. Example, could you get this done by this afternoon? Do you think you might be able to have some time this afternoon or on the weekend? When is a good time for you? So questioning rather than let's meet on Saturday. Okay, that's an order versus, do you think you might have time on the weekends? Is Saturday a good day? Is Sunday a better day? Again, it's your questioning style that's going to help you rather than, why don't we get together Saturday? That is an order versus a question. You'll get a lot further when you use questioning skills to help you with your influencing. So important to learn questioning in real estate. And as I say, we have many, many, many courses. I have many courses on that. Rapport could be defined as a process of leveling the status. I love this little picture. I'm an animal lover, and look at this little cat. She's right beside him, but look at the eyes. She's got the eyes looking at him. She's saying, look, I'm beside you, but I'm aware that you're there and you're a whole lot bigger than I am. So it's funny when you look at that. But my point is that it really, really, rapport is something that some people are great at and other people have to learn it. Takes longer for them. Tips to create rapport. Copy another person's behavior. It's called mirroring. So I don't know if you ever used to watch Larry King. He, as you know, was on CNN. He had his own talk show there for years and years and years and retired, and the Larry King Show. And he used to have a lot of guests on his show all the time. I remember distinctly he used to bring on Tony Robbins, the great motivational speaker. He was someone that I listened to and bought his tapes, many years ago in the 70s. I have to say, his tapes really helped me in the beginning a lot. And he used to talk about mirroring all the time. And, if you watch Larry King, he was always on the show with No suit jacket. He had suspenders and a white shirt and a fancy tie. And the suspenders usually always matched his tie, kind of thing. So that was his distinct look. Well, when Tony Robbins was on his show many times, guess how he dressed? Yes, you're right. He dressed with the suspenders, a fancy tie, no jacket. And so he came on saying, look, I like the way you dress. I relate to that. And so he came on the show looking like that. Again, mirroring is not trying to copy someone necessarily, but it's trying to get to understand that people feel better around people that are like themselves, other than people who are really different. Even though people say they like people who are different, it's actually not true. Many studies have been done that people feel more comfortable around people that are much like themselves, and they relate better to them. So try to look at the other person's behavior, try to mirror their style. If they're soft-spoken, you have to be soft-spoken. If they're more assertive and a little louder, you have to make sure that you are the same way as well. Ask no more than 3 questions till you have done the next 2 things. We're going to talk about them. Find something that you have learned and pay subtle but relevant compliments. So, let's take a look at some of the things that you want to do in terms of building rapport. Genuine mirroring is a good thing. It's gentle mimicry is what they call it. Can act as a kind of social glue, if you will, in human relationships. It fosters rapport and trust, and be careful not to make it look too much like manipulation, because that's not what you're trying to do. And here's a good example, again, of the image. You see how their hands are folded, sitting across the table from each other. Again, this is a soft, little, gentle way of showing mirroring. And anyways, here's what I was referring to when I say the personality types of the people, and understanding, what these personality types are. If you can't hear me, it must be on your end, because everybody has put their thumbs up saying they can hear me. So it must be something on your side. Anyways, there's many courses on this, and this is a very famous one. It's called Understanding the Different Personality Types: the analytical, the driver, the amiable, and the expressive. And if you look at the 2 sides, okay, it's about less responsive, more responsive in relationship building. When it comes to tasks, they're less responsive. When it comes to relationships, they're more responsive. So it's based on pushing people, and it's about pulling people to you. The other is about pushing yourself on them. So let's take a look at these different personality types. Try to figure out who you are, okay? Driver, okay? The first one, top right hand. They're on the push side, okay? And they just do it. These are control people. They specialize in taking control. They like to take control. They feel comfortable taking control, and they want to know what and when. Very important. Loves to take charge. Has a difficulty when other people try to take charge. Again, the driver type. And there's no right or wrong to any of these, by the way. They are who they are, okay? And our job is to be able to recognize them and adapt to them. Adaptability is important. The analytical personality, that's the technique specialist. That's top left, okay? And if you look at some of these little images that are so cute, the analytical, is the do it right or not at all. They can be sometimes thought of a little bit of a perfectionist, if you will. Wants to know how. Wait a minute, you got that? How did you do that? Show me how you did that. They want to know, they want to know, they want to know. Likes to plan. The analytical people always have a plan, a chart. They'll come into appointment quite often, if you got the analytical type as as a client. He's going to come in with a notepad, if you will, and a tape measure, and loves the data and all that kind of thing. And the amiable, okay, which is bottom left, that's the support specialist, okay. uh, we are great, kind of thing. And they love to be able to help other people, and wants to know who and why, likes cooperation and loyalty. They are very amiable. If these are the people who can really like helping the underdog. The thing you have to be careful with them is they can sometimes like to be focused on the underdog. In other words, if you come into an appointment with someone who's an amiable personality, and you go in there, I'm the best, I've sold more houses than anybody else, our company has sold more houses than anybody else, and you come across as being more of the person who's going to pump yourself, that would not sit well with an amiable. An amiable wants people who they want to help people who have never got a listing before. We listed with our friend. She just got her license. We wanted to help her out. So always remember, this is a person who wants to support people, wants to help people. Then the bottom left, right rather, expressive. They are social specialists. Okay, guys, let's get it done. Let's do it. We can all do this together. They're all about, wanting to know who else can join in, and loves energy and optimism. I had a guy that worked for me and he used to be a garbage collector for the city of Toronto many, many, many years ago. And I won't mention his name. He worked for me. I trained him, quite a good looking, handsome young guy. And let me tell you, he was just the social butterfly. And he had his own style. I can tell you, weekends when he was out partying, and I used to worry about him, thinking, oh my God, what's he up to this weekend? He was just the social butterfly, and people loved being around him. Every weekend he'd come home and he'd say, I got a listing appointment, I'm going out. I met them at the party that I was at. He used to get more business just from that. I had another guy that I knew, and he was hugely successful at listing. I was brand new in the business, and I'd say to his name was, oh my God, Mike. I was just going to say, all of a sudden, his name just left me. His name was Mike. And I say, Mike, he was an Italian guy. And I'd say, Mike, how do you get these listings? Can I shadow you for a day? Oh yeah, come on along, no problem. And he was the expressive type. And what did he do? He went from one Italian little coffee shop to another coffee shop to another coffee shop. He had 3 or 4 espressos, between 8 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, oh my God, I can't have any more espressos. But this is how he socialized and how he got his listings. And again, that's the type that he was, and he found a way to make it work for him. So understanding personalities types, let's keep looking at it. Again, if you look at the little diagram on the right now, the driver is about implementation. It's about inspiring people. These are people who like to get things going. They like to start a new project, and they'll get right into it in the beginning. But don't leave them there too long, because this person likes to be constantly inspired to do other things, and they'll get bored doing the same thing over and over and over again. So they like to get it going. They like to inspire people to join them. Come on, let's get this done. Look at this, what we can do together. And then they like to have somebody else take it over, and they'll find something else, kind of thing. So that's sort of the driver personality. And so with them, it's about new things. It's about inspiring people, and it's about the push side of, your personality. And, then we're looking at the expressive. The expressive, it's about investigating. It's about discovering new people, new things. It's about marketing. It's about finding ways to reach people. It's going out there, marketing yourself, and the business kind of side of things, along with your personality. The amiable, it's about being a liaison. It's about assisting other people. It's about the organizer kind of thing, and finding people that they can support. So they are the organizer and the liaison. again, very important personality trait. And then, of course, the analytical. They're the person who wants to have things appraised. They want the steps, give me the plan. Step 1, step 2, step 3. They're finishers. The driver is not a finisher. They're a starter. Whereas the analytical is a finisher. So again, when you understand these different personality types, who you are, and again, the other personalities that are around you in your life and clients that you will meet, you'll understand how you have to change yourself to the client that you're meeting. So if I'm the kind of person who's very much an analytical person, I like data, I like detail, I like a lot of documentation, all of that. If that's who you are, and if you like to have a lot of data, well, if you go out to an expressive or a driver side personality, the more detail you give someone like that, the driver or the expressive, you're going to confuse them. They're like, oh my God, it's not who they are. They're much more about how they feel and their gut instincts. Detail scares them too much. Step 1, step 2, step 3, you'll lose them that way. So very important that you understand these styles when it comes to personality types that you meet. Are they more assertive and fast paced, or less assertive and slower paced? Again, how do they communicate with you? Their tone of voice. I'm listening to me. You probably know that the personality type that I am. You can probably figure it out just by being here and listening to me. Okay. Are they less responsive and task oriented, and more responsive and people oriented? So knowing the person that you're dealing with makes all the difference in the world. I found this online. I found it kind of fun to look at, kind of thing. 10 critical emotions that invoke people. Okay. Fear. Okay. Of not getting left behind, guilt. Oh my God, our mother, our, people in our lives that have used guilt as a way to motivate you. Your contribution can make the difference between the child eating dinner and going to bed hungry, kind of thing. This guilt. Trust, no gimmicks, no hidden costs, being upfront, totally, visible to people, and totally, making sure that you keep them involved in everything so that they can see that you're very open and honest. Value, always believe in selling the value and become a value to people. The more valuable you are to someone, the more they will want to be with you and do business with you. Making a feeling of belonging, okay, is also extremely important to people, when they feel like they belong to this group, to some, that's where bullying, if you look at bullies, and how people are try to avoid those people, kind of thing, because to them the most important thing is wanting to belong. Competition, very good. Some people love competition, some people don't like competition. In sales, it's all about competition, and you got to love competition. Instant gratification. Talk to one of our representatives so you can stop worrying today. In other words, I used to always say to real estate agents, my job, Mr. Client, is to take the worry out of buying and the worry out of selling. Let me do the worry. That's my job. That's what I get paid for. I'll take care of it for you, kind of thing. Makes people feel more relaxed. Leadership, again, so important, being able to be a leader and not somebody who's trying to control them. A leader is not a controller. They inspire people. They don't try to control them. Being a trendsetter, and of course, is also, something that people always want to become, like hanging around people who are setting trends, Anyways, time, cleaning your house, in half the time. We're going to show you how to be able to do what you want to do quickly and get it done quickly for you, kind of thing. Time is an issue for a lot of people. I can get you the highest price possible in the least amount of time and the least amount of frustration possible, kind of thing, as you know. Anyways, just some critical emotions to think about. Always be authentic. It's about being individual. I used to say to people, because when I was coaching them, they'd say, oh my God, if I could only talk as well as you could, if I could only be you, you know, and I'd say, listen, you could record me. I could write out verbatim, word for word, what I say when I go on a listing appointment, when I sit with a client, and you could practice it and you could mimic it to every letter and every word. You could know it that well. But the thing you have to understand, I'm not you and you're not me. And it's impossible for you to try and totally copy someone without losing yourself. Your ability to simply be yourself and speak the way you normally speak, being comfortable in who and what you're saying, understand the points that I'm making, learn from the information I share with you, but don't try to be me, be yourself, because that is what's going to make people feel like they're dealing with somebody they can trust, because authenticity is the single most important thing when it comes to helping people make decisions that are good for them. And that's what you're trying to do, help people make decisions that are good for them. Means you need to respect who they are, means you need to value who they are, means you need to support who they are. It means transparency. That's the word I was looking for a moment ago, being open and transparent in everything you do. It's about collaboration. And you know, it's goal achievement, but it's also the most important thing, as I say, is being an individual that they can trust. This is a big one for me. I talk about it all the time in my negotiating, nodding your head. There's two ways of nodding, as you know, the no nod, which you don't want to be doing. And if you sit with some people, you know, I've seen people sitting there on an offer presentation, on a listing appointment. I used to go out with agents all the time. Let me go with you. Let me see what it is that you're doing. Let me follow what you're doing, monitor what you're doing. And I go, and one of the things I would notice, I'm not saying you're doing this, but I'm saying I've seen a lot of real estate agents, and they'd be sitting and they'd be nodding, but their nod was in a no direction. Never be a no shaker. You've got to be a yes shaker. Even if you don't agree necessarily with what they're saying, remember, just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean they're wrong, and it doesn't make you right. You know, we have differences in this world. We have differences of opinion. There's nothing wrong with someone having an opinion that's different from yours. Studies have shown that people who physically nod while they're listening to an idea are more likely to agree with it. And that means when other people, when you're talking, you know, and you see them nodding in a yes direction, that's a good thing. If you see them nodding in a no direction, there's a clue here for you to pick up on, okay? So your physical body can often influence their cognitive thoughts. So, you know, when you're smiling and making it happy. I remember very, very, very early on in my career, it's probably my first month. And so I remember going on an offer presentation with my manager, and it was my listing, and we got a sign call. I went, met them at the house, and the client loved it and wanted to put an offer in on it. And anyways, we got the offer. I brought him back to the office, and we got an offer. My manager was helping me. It was actually, to be honest with you, my very first offer. Anyways, long story short, we got the offer. We went to the seller's house, and we were trying to get them to accept a certain price. And I remember the thing that he was doing. He was doodling. I know this is going to sound silly, but just bear with me. Sometimes it's these psychological things that people don't even realize what's going on, but what they're doing is planting a seed in the person's mind. So here he is with this notepad, and he's got his pen. I don't remember what the price was. You know, remember, I'm going back 49 years now, or 48 years. So that's a long time ago. So he's putting a price tag on there. You know, 63.5, 63.5, 63.5. And he kept doodling it, and it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The number was growing because that's the sign back that he wanted, because they wanted a much higher price. He wanted them to sign it back. I forget the number. I'm making the number up. So he's writing the number 63.5, 63.5, 63.5, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And afterwards, we got a sign back of 63.5. Believe me, we did. and it was him who was able to help me learn that. And that was a technique that I watched, and it was amazing. That doodling, okay, is very similar to your nodding, the yes direction. So it's a big advantage if you can start to think about that. When someone sees you're nodding in conversation, they feel encouraged to follow suit. So when they see you nodding in a yes direction, it's positive, it's enthusiasm, it's it makes comforting to see you saying yes rather than shaking no. Put on a show. What do I mean by that? You have to be careful. I don't mean being flamboyant or anything like that, but oh, you said you wanted a large kitchen. Oh my God, wait till you see this house with the kitchen. Oh, it's huge. And they must have spent $40,000 to $50,000 in the renovations just about a year ago. Really amazing kitchen. And that's what I mean when I say put on a show, influencing people. This is where the tone of your voice and making people get excited. Why would they make an appointment with you? Because you've got something that you've got them intrigued. They want to see this house because of this kitchen kind of thing. So drama can personalize facts. It can, if you use a little drama. And I used to hear this often in the beginning as well. And I say to real estate people that would ask me, I'm a brand new agent. How do I compete? I'm brand new. And I would always say, what you got to do? You got to do twice as much homework as the experienced agent. So you need to do your homework, your research, know the facts, and know them to memory kind of things, so that when you do go out on that appointment, that you can speak the facts, but you can speak it with enthusiasm now because you feel comfortable. And don't be afraid, as I said, to use some of this drama, because that's what they say. Sales is all about acting. Believe me, fake it until you make it. I'm sure you've heard that before. And that's what I'd say to real estate people. You got to fake it until you make it. You're not lying. You're just, being enthusiastic. Enthusiasm is infectious, and it sells, and it motivates people. If you need to make a point and convince someone to get behind you, don't be afraid to throw in some flair. And that's what I was doing when I was talking about the kitchen kind of thing. So how to talk and not argue. Talking, again, always remember, people are always going to have a difference of opinion. In my negotiating course, I talk about there's two forms of communication. One is communicating through statements. I've been doing that all morning with you, making one statement after another. But remember, every time you make a statement, let me do a demo here. No house in this area is going to sell for that kind of money. It's a statement. It's also extremely argumentative because it automatically opens the floor up for a debate. I'm not negotiating right now. I'm debating with you. Who's the smartest? Who knows more? And once you start making statements all the time to people, if you sign it back, I'll lose them. I know these people, they're already starting to think that maybe this isn't the right house kind of thing. So the minute you start making statement after statement after statement, it's hot in here. This is also me, I, change the temperature. I'm not comfortable. But if you say, do you find it hot in here, by the way? You see, it's very different when you ask questions rather than make statements. When you ask a question, it's not about you, I. It's not about you being smarter than them and getting into an argument, you know more than they do. It's not about that. It's about, hey, I understand. Suppose that. That's a very good point that you brought up. Oh, yeah, I can understand that. Shaking your head in a yes direction. I understand how you feel about that. That makes that makes some sense to me. But would you consider, have you ever thought of what if, kind of thing? See, that is now changing a discussion from a debate where who's right, who's wrong. In a debate, that's what you want. One person wants to win and they want the other person to lose. So that can create an argument. You do not want to communicate with someone coming from that position, because if you do, that's what you're doing. You're creating an argument rather than, oh, I see how you, oh, that's an interesting point of view. Yeah, I can see that. But what if, have you ever considered, is there a possibility? Would you think about this? That's a different situation altogether. Okay. And that's what you're trying to do. You're not criticizing, you're not touting your own horn. Toss out any of criticism. People do not want to spend time with a realtor who's criticizing. For example, this happened to me. I was looking to buy a house, and some of you know I just moved in here to this property a month ago. Anyways, I was going out with real estate people. I have a house, come and see. And there was one agent I went out with for quite a while. Anyways, long story short, this house, one of the things that's really important for me when I looked for a home is curb appeal, and landscaping. And let me tell you, this house that I was looking at, oh, it had the most amazing curb appeal, and the landscaping. Oh, it was, maintenance free. I didn't have to cut grass. It was just these little shrubs, and it was just perfect for me at my age. I didn't want anything that had a lot of exterior maintenance. Anyways, I must have said it 3 or 4 times. And here is where she lost me. Here's what she said to me, and she lost me right there. Okay. And this is what I mean about criticism. She said, you can't buy a house just because it has curb appeal. Why not? I was thinking, I never said that to her, but I'm thinking, what do you mean I can't buy a house just because it has curb appeal? If I want to, I will. I'm thinking, my point is, what has she done there? She actually criticized me because I'm again and again made mention of, God, that we would be in the front yard and I'd look out the window and I say, look at how this house looks even from the front window. Then when we were outside, I actually walked across the street and looked at it from across the street. It is such a pretty house. Look at that back. And I kept saying it. And she, I guess, was tired of hearing it. Instead, what does that tell you about me as a customer? Okay. Don't criticize people. It's amazing how many times I see that. And sometimes it's done unintentionally. You're really trying to help the person. Look at the other things that the property has. It has great windows. It has this, it has that. That's not the point. The point was curb appeal was extremely important, and so was landscaping. Okay. So be careful with that. Start with yes questions, because I have several courses on questioning. Look for them and take them. Start with yes questions. They're easy to answer. Or if it doesn't have to necessarily be yes questions, but you want to make sure that you stay away from questions that incite people wanting to feel uncomfortable with the questions that you're asking. So start with simple questions. I was one time working with a team, and they invited me in. This team, huge team in Mississauga, makes a fortune. Won't discuss who they are. And they invited me in because they were having problems with their emails. They were getting tons of emails because they had lots of listings and they were marketing like crazy online, and their conversion rate was really bad. So I said, next time you get an email, I'd like to see your message that you send. So here we are, we're in the room training, and he said, I got an email. And I said, okay. We stopped, and this person, wanted they were looking for a condo, and their question was, they wanted to know how many parking spaces was there. And here's what the agent, I said, now, what are you going to reply? How are you going to reply? He said, I reply the same way. And he was the one who was in charge of all the email inquiries, because this team had, 15 people on the team. It was a big team. Anyways, so I said, what is it that you send normally? And he shows me what they send. And this was a long fact sheet about, the listing and all the features of the listing and everything like that. And he'd also, in this message, would answer whatever question they had, but it was a big, long message. And I said, oh, no. You're not going to send that. There's your problem right there. You don't know these people. These people don't know you. The first thing you got to do is get them engaged with you. You got to, through email, you got to build rapport with them through email, and And how do you do that? Well, how you do that is understand email is meant to be brief. People read their email 95% of the time from their cell phones. So this long message on a cell, reading that, I mean, that they're not even going to want to, it's going to make them not even want to respond because they couldn't find the answer to their question because they were bogged down with this big long message. And I said, type this. And so he's typing, and I said, thank them for visiting my website. Thank you very much for visiting my website. Period. Next sentence. You were inquiring about 123 Green Street, apartment 21. I'm making addresses up here. Your question, you wanted to know how many parking spots this unit has. This particular space, double space, new paragraph, answer the question. This unit has one parking space. Double space, question. Only one question. How many parking spaces do you need? Looking forward to hearing a reply. Send. Well, within seconds, he got a reply. And he was like, oh, I got a reply. You see, that was what I was trying to explain to him. It wasn't a yes question that I asked him to ask or answer. It was a simple question. It doesn't necessarily have to be a yes question, but it has to be a simple question that you know they will answer to. Because what you're trying to do is get exchange. So you're trying to get email chat going. So they said they needed 2 parking spaces. And he said, what do I say now? Reply, thank you for your response. Would you be willing to rent a space if I could find another one available in this unit, in this building? Send. And now you've got a conversation started. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to engage people by asking questions. Make the questions simple to answer in the beginning, and then they can get, as you get to know them, as you start building a little bit of a rapport with them, the questions can be more probative and more detail oriented, but very important that you have that. Using scarcity principle. Oh, if you don't get this, if you don't buy this, it won't last. I can tell you right now, it's going to get sold in a week. It's going to get sold. Now, I know our market has been that way. And often, scarcity is going to motivate people. And it certainly does when in the multiple offer situation. You have to be careful, though, with some people. There's people out there that won't get into a multiple offer situation. They don't like it. The minute you say that, it's going to turn them off. And so you can't use that strategy with everyone. I'm a person that does not necessarily want to get involved in a multiple offer situation. So be careful using the scarcity principle. Realtors often use it to try and push a sale. This won't last. You better hurry up because it's going to be gone. What you should do is show them, prove to them some of the sales in the area, what has been selling, show them some of the MLS data that you can support. That approach might be far better with this client. That's why it's so important to understand your clients and, the type of client that you're dealing with, because, it's also when you're negotiating kind of thing, who will be the last to sign? In other words, there's some people who always have to have the last word. They will always sign an offer back. It doesn't matter even if they're, if it's full price. There are some people think, I underpriced this. I knew we should have priced it higher, so be careful. The scarcity principle with some people can backfire. That's why you got to know more than one approach. Avoid overselling. Again, qualify. The worst thing you're going to do is try to upsell somebody who can't afford it. Okay. It's so easy. So I always say, always remember, buyers typically will want to tell you, they'll say to you, well, I don't want to pay anything more than, I'm making numbers up. I don't want to go over 800,000. That's as much, 800 is my limit. I can't go over. So what I say to real estate agents, qualify. Okay. After you've qualified them and the financial as well as their, the type of property they want and all of that, are they ready, willing, and able kind of thing. You've done all of that. You have now qualified them. They actually could afford 850 to 870. So they can afford over 8 based on everything. They want an $850,000 home for 790 or 780. They want under 8, but what they really want, they can't get under 8. They're going to have to pay 810 or 815, if you know what I'm saying, in order to get it. So I used to hear real estate agents saying all the time, well, we can't find what you want in this price range. You're going to have to pay more. And, they start to oversell kind of thing. And I say to real estate agents, be careful of that, okay? Because here's what I say that you do. The worst thing you can do is say to someone, you're going to have to pay more. You won't find what you want in this price range. You're going to have to come up in price. They just think you want more commission. What you got to do, show them everything that they can find that's on the market in the 750 to 800 range, okay? And you already know they're not going to like what they want. What they want is 825 to 850, hypothetically. And they can afford it. They're qualifying. They would qualify for this. It means they have to stretch a little, but it's not a big stretch, okay? We're not talking $1,000 more. We're talking maybe $100 more, kind of thing. So I would say to real estate agents, here's what you got to do in that situation. Show them everything that's available in the price range they want. Then just take them to the house they want to buy. Make sure they qualify. And just open the door. Why do you have to say to them, please think about it. If I know you qualify and I know I can get you a mortgage based on the information you're telling me, it's going to be a condition on financing anyways. Bottom line, why do I have to tell you you have to come up in price? Why do I have to tell you that? I don't have to tell you that. All I have to do is make an appointment. You're in my car. I, unlock the door, let you walk in, and the buying signs. And you know what they are. Oh my God. And now they're all excited. You can see their eyes light up. I say to always remember, when it comes to getting people, motivating people, influencing people, always emotion before money. Don't talk money and then emotion. You got to get the emotions on your side. Then you can talk money. Why is it that car salespeople always want you to get into the car, smell the new leather in that new car? Let's take it out for a test drive. Let's go on the highway. Let's see how much speed is there in the handling of the car. It's emotion. It's emotion. It's emotion. So always remember, emotion before money, because once they see it, they love it, they want it. It makes money so much more easier. If you talk money first, and I don't mean the qualifying side, you got to talk the qualifying side so that you know what they can afford. But you don't want to tell them you got to pay more for you to find what you want. You don't have to say that. Just qualify them and show them. Okay, here we are, 2 minutes after. I hope I've given you some ideas. Let me see about some questions that you have. Would you be able to email the slides? We have, thank you very much. I love to see those emojis. I love to see them. Thank you. Would you be able to email me the slides? No, we're not allowed to do that. What I can tell you is that isn't that lovely? I'm just loving to see these emojis. Thank you very much. Every session is recorded, and you can go into our back end resource section of HomeLife. You can watch this again and again and again anytime you want. We are not allowed to email the program to you. But Raku, please make sure. It usually takes a few days for them. Don't look for it this week. It'll be next week. You can go in and you can watch this again. How can we explain if the property is not convincing? How can we explain if the property is not convincing? I think what you're meaning, if it doesn't show well, Bally, if that's what you're referring to, it doesn't show well, it's not in great condition. How can we be convincing when it isn't? Let me tell you, okay? Every single solitary property, I don't care the condition. It could be one of these homes that are pack rats, these hoarders homes. And we've all seen some really bad properties in our life in real estate if you've been in the business long enough. I don't care. Every house has special something? Is it the yard that's special? Is it the style of house, the design of the house, the layout of the house, the size of the rooms? There's always something that you can focus on. It's in a great area, so focus on what's great about the property and just say, look, this is a house that needs some tender loving care. This is a house that's going to need someone to go in there and spend some money to fix it up. But boy, is this house ever going to be able to bring you back some real value, because when you fix it up, you've brought the house into a different price range. It's going to be able to make you money. So there's always something great about the property. Focus on that. Hi, where can I find November 3rd lead conversion webinar recording? It's Chris in our home life is our IT person. He normally is the one that uploads. He's on holidays this week. That's why it's not uploaded there, but it will be uploaded next week. I can assure you. Give him until Wednesday because he's off until Monday, and that's why it's not up there, but it will be up there. What did you mean doodling? Oh, okay. What do I mean doodling? That's having a pen in hand and starting to just, try to drawing. It's drawing. And you're going over the same image again and again and again and again and again. And so he was taking the number 63.5 and he was writing it and in big letters. So the 63.5 would be in big letters on a plain little notepad that he was using, and he kept going over the 6, the 6, the 6, the 6, the 6, and the 3, the 3, the 3. He kept going over it, and he was doing that while we were talking the whole time. That's what I mean by doodling. And all of a sudden now the 63.5 became very visible because he kept going over the same with his pen again and again and again, and the image became stronger and more prominent and so on. That's what I mean by doodling. Hopefully I've answered your question. Okay. You have answered so many questions without even asking. You have added so much value. Love it. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, everybody. I've been training you guys for a long time. I love the questions so much. Anyways, thank you all for being here. Don't hesitate to email me if you have any other questions. My next session, by the way, is on... Yes, November 17th, planning your 2021 year. That's what the next session is, November 17th, which is 6 days from now. See you then. Hopefully you all have a great rest of the week and a great weekend. Be careful out there. Stay safe. Love you all. Bye-bye.